War has changed, or more specifically, the rules for armor in Fallout Wasteland Warfare have changed. Hey there, Wastelanders, and welcome back to War Games News Radio. And in this video, we're going to be going over all of the huge new armor and power armor updates introduced in this wave because they have a big impact on points values, units, items, and list building in Fallout Wasteland Warfare. At this point, you might be asking, armor changes? I haven't heard anything about this at all. And no, you haven't been living under a rock because the rollout of these updates from our friends over at Modifius hasn't been all that smooth. And we'll come back to that in just a minute. But first, let's go over all of these changes and why I think that they are a literal game changer for the better of Wasteland Warfare. This update was made official when the Nuka World wave released earlier this fall, and on top of all the raidery goodness that it's added to the game, it also introduced a handful of rules updates to Wasteland Warfare, the biggest one being to armor values for specific unit types. I'll go over some of these other rule changes like weapon triggers in a later video, but for right now, let's just stick to armor. If you're a longtime player of the game, then you probably know that units in Wasteland Warfare have this little box on the bottom right-hand side of their card, which tells you the unit's base armor values, which are the unit's built-in resistances to specific types of damage, physical, energy, and radiation. At least that was the case, because as of the release of Nuka World, all non-creature, non-robot, human/synth models set their base stats to 0 for all damage types, while all non-creature super mutant models set their base values to 0 for physical and energy armor, but are immune to radiation. To put this another way, any unit that isn't a robot or creature now has a base armor value of 0 across the board, except super mutants and ghouls, which are immune to radiation. What's really important here is that this change is retroactive to all previous waves and units released for Wasteland Warfare. So if you're looking to survive in the Wasteland, spending some extra caps on some armor is a pretty good idea to beef up your units. I'd originally heard that this new change to armor would only affect the Nuka World units, and it would take a while for it to slowly work its way back to all the previous waves, but that is not the case. Modifius have pulled the trigger and just gone and rewrote the whole slate all the way back to Wave 1. I actually really like this change, as armor cards and items are now way more important than they used to be, and a lot of them were honestly worse than what many units already had baked into their stat card. It also encourages using other items that can modify your armor stats, like clothing. Suddenly taking a vault jumpsuit and leather armor isn't just a cool, thematic, fun choice for your vault dweller units, it might actually keep them alive on the battlefield. On top of making some item types way more useful, this change has also brought updates to points costs. Units that now need to pay for armor have, for the most part, seen their points drop, some minor and some by a decent amount. Armor items are generally more affordable now too, like the combat armor, which for just 8 caps is going to be my default choice, hands down. As mentioned, power armor rules have also seen a couple of tweaks in this wave, and the biggest one comes from an errata update. The armor rating of a suit of power armor can no longer be increased by any effect other than a power armor mod. This includes any additional armor bonuses from cover, chems, or anything that isn't specifically a power armor mod item. You're also no longer able to swap back and forth between power armor and regular armor values while you're wearing a suit. If your model's wearing power armor, then you must use your power armor values when resolving damage unless you actually get out of the suit, stopping you from min-maxing your armor depending on the incoming damage. This also kind of ties into another errata update about when you select what armor your units are wearing in the round of the game. It's a weird rule and not one that I really ever often use, but rules as written, units would set their armor values depending on their items at the start of their activation. But as of the latest errata update, units now select their armor stats essentially when they're the target of an attack. Now this is a lot to unpack, and as mentioned, only some of the updates in this recent Nuka World release. The official point spreadsheets are still being updated to reflect all of these changes, as are the unit PDFs on the Wasteland Warfare downloads page, which brings me to my critique, and it's not actually of these rules themselves, but it's the rollout. The base armor value update alone is a fundamental change to the core of Wasteland Warfare going back to the release of the game. That means Nuka World isn't an optional expansion, it's a must-have if you want to play this game the way it's supposed to be played right now and have any idea what the f*** is going on. And in all honesty, I don't think this was a malicious decision, that somebody in a Modiphius boardroom was twirling their snidely whiplash mustache and trying to figure out if they put this change inside the book, then people would have to buy it. I honestly think that they just kind of forgot how important this is. We're now months into the release of Wave 10, and the points list is still a mess after 2 updates, I think this week alone, and a handful of things are just missing, like some of the most recent armor items added in this wave haven't made it to the points update for this wave. What? On top of that, the unit PDFs haven't been updated to reflect this change, and the official errata doesn't make any mention of this change other than to clarify a typo from the actual printed book that used a dash instead of a 0. What? What this errata doesn't do and should is put a big hand up in the air and say, armor rules have changed. Modiphius tried to make a Facebook post clearing some of this up in the community groups and got it backwards and had to walk it back again. It was just not good. This isn't all just belly aching. These concerns are ones that I have heard from the community. In fact, Modiphius reached out to me to ask me what happened here, that's, whew. Or more specifically, what the community feels happened here. And I've told them my 2 cents as honestly as I've told them to you folks here today. And I have reason to believe that our concerns have not fallen on deaf ears. So fingers crossed, hopefully we're gonna see a couple of things ironed out here in the very near future. Well, there you have it, Wastelanders. A lot going on in this Nuka World expansion. But like I said, I think this is, for the most part, all going to be for the betterment of the game. I'm hoping that we're going to see a lot of these issues smoothed out coming towards future waves, and that this armor rule in general is going to hopefully balance things out across the tabletop. Thank you so much for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, then hit that like button, subscribe, and make sure you turn on the notifications so you don't miss our next video. And if you really enjoy WGNR, then check out our Patreon link in the description, or click the join button right down here on YouTube so you can help support us make more videos more often for you to enjoy. Get all kinds of cool little swag things like your name up here on the Hall of Heroes, double entry into future giveaways, and you could even find yourself as a named character in a future battle report or live stream. As always, thank you so much for watching, and stay tuned because WGNR will be back.